Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday night once again on the bus, and you know what that means? It's time to get that Friday feeling once again. Celtic are back in action. Safe to say that we've needed a week after what's happened last weekend. I think we've needed a good long week, no midweek games to distract us. So yeah, it's quite appropriate at the start of the intro there with the song, piling on the agony, and oh my, the agony has kept piling on and piling on. Or the blue side of Glasgow feels like a day doesn't go by without some absolute madness happening. Another headline. So you can bet your bottom dollar we'll be talking about that. But Liam, since we were last on the Boise bus, what a world we live in. We now live in this crazy world where Greg Taylor has scored a goal in a Glasgow Derby Cup final, and we ended up winning the game. And is that just interesting how things can happen? So yeah, strange stuff. But I suppose you've been loving this week, Liam. Safe to say.
Mate, like the amount of people that have came up that I didn't even know followed football that knew about this most successful club in the world thing. I've got people with all cultures and all walks of life, and 119 most successful club in the world. You did it, and I was like just really gracious and thankful for getting all that. No, that never happened. I mean, this was a number that was in their heads. I'm just glad that we beat them in a game, and I'm glad we took them to penalty kicks. It shows that we have work to do in our team because, despite all that and winning all that, when you look back at it, yeah, we got some work to do. But my God, piling on the agony, piling on the pain, sitting in Vancouver, Friday feeling in the rain. There you go, pal. Can it be better?
Oh, mate, it's been something else. I'm really looking forward to having a chat about that, and obviously we look forward to the Dundee United game this Sunday. First game against Dundee United this season, because we were meant to play them on the weekend of the League Cup semi-final, but obviously that game got put on the back burner, so it's actually our first game against Jim Goodwin's team this season. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that as well as all the other, as I say, all the agony, all the headlines that's been going on this week. So we'll get into that soon. So before we do that, of course, folks, remember what you can do, of course, for Phil and Liam on a Friday night. You can do all that good stuff. You can hit that like button, help us out, get the name of the Boise Bus out there on YouTube to more people with the old algorithm, CSC. So that always helps massively. Get involved in our comment section tonight, like so many of you are already doing. Let's have a wee look who's in. Smell the Glove is in. Jim Dolan is in. Michelle Reid is in. Ian McIntosh, Jim C, Steve-O, Sean Taylor. Who else have we got as well? I've actually posted on the Boise Bus account. That's not actually Boise that's there. It's actually me that posted that because I can access it for here. But yeah, I'd say all the hits are in tonight. And yeah, what else can you do? You can hit the subscribe button, of course, if you haven't done so yet. Keep the bus in your life that wee bit longer. Remember, hit the bell notification though if you haven't done so, because you'll be notified when we go live. And yes, share the link of the Boise Bus far and wide on whatever social media platform tickles your fancy. And of course, head over to piesports.com. The logo's up in the whatever corner. I always get it wrong when I try to point to it. And yeah, use that code BUS1888 and you'll get 12.5% off of your order. And of course, there is now the teaser at the start of the show. We always come back to the answer at the end. We've got the mystery player. Third week in a row. First week we had Gary Caldwell. Last week it was Roy Aitken. And who is this week's mystery player, Liam, hiding behind the graphics? So, of course, if you know it, Liam, don't shout it out yet, because obviously we'll come back to the answer at the end. But this week's hidden player, and the only clue that you're getting is obviously the career that he had. It's another short one, or another small in terms of number of clubs, like Roy Aitken's last week. But here you go. Here's the player. He played for Celtic, then Norwich, then Reading, and then Bournemouth. So that is only 4 clubs that this player played for, hidden behind the old Boise Bus logo. So yeah, say Liam, if you know who it is, don't say it yet. We'll obviously come back to it at the end. But yes, who is the mystery player? So yeah, we'll come back to that. Teaser to get the brain going, stimulate the mind on the Friday feeling. But yeah, with that said and done, Liam, I mean, where do you wish to start with what we've seen this week? It's been an absolute slobber knocker, to say the least. It seems to be a recurring theme now, where we get a result against them, and it has just been excuses, meltdowns, the blame game. I mean, if my team missed a 4-on-1 chance when they were 1-0 up, I'd probably be looking to blame everybody else as well. That's something that seems to be dusted under the carpet and all the fallout here for all the finger pointing that's going on about we should have had a penalty and this and that. And Willie Collum even said it was a penalty. And hey, to be fair, we've had a couple of the VAR shows this season, Liam, where Willie Collum just kind of shrugged his shoulders and went, yeah, Celtic should have had a penalty there. And do you know what we can do about it? Nothing. Just like he can do nothing about it, Liam. But yeah, it's just every day. It just feels like another person coming out the woodwork to throw their 2 pence worth into it. What are you feeling about it, Liam, in the days that followed the League Cup final victory?
You know, it always looks like they try and just drill it down to one incident, one item per game, and everything gets slung onto that. And it makes it like that was the most pivotal moment in the game. All the other goals, all the other chances, all that stuff didn't happen. But that one pivotal moment, that's all we're looking at. So that means if we take that same energy and everything that all the radio shows and the pundits and all that, ex-referees, ex-players, okay, is there 4 or 5 other incidents in the game that you could focus on with that amount of scrutiny and that amount of detail? And will they stand up as being the corrected decisions? Will there be apologies? Will there be all that stuff that happened? Because I can name 2 right away. I look at that one, and I think the one that was most glaring, and somebody was good enough to put it on X or something this week and slow it down. And that was the quick free kick that we took to Dyson Maeda. There was a spot kick that was done. It was maybe about 5 yards before the halfway line. I think it was McGregor. McGregor put it down, took a quick one, and bang. Dyson just took off and caught everybody flat-footed, and he was in and goal. And as soon as Beaton turned his head and seen it was Dyson, bang, the whistle blew. Yeah. He blew them back to take it back. They tried to take it like closer to where they blew the whistle at, and he said, no, he made them take it back to the exact same part he had kicked it before. And he'd blown the whistle on that. I think it was the fact that he caught Rangers so far off guard. And that's it. So there's another incident right now, because that would have been a breakaway. And that breakaway is as good as any of their penalties as far as a goal-scoring opportunity. You know, I know it's Dyson, we know that, but they don't know that, you know. But you look at that. So if you take any of those different flashpoints throughout the game and all that and look at and give it the same amount of attention, yeah, you'd be up in arms as well. And the entire world is laughing at Scottish football. And everybody coming out that somehow, again, you know, I lived through the, you know, like, remember being in Toronto in the 90s when, you know, the EBT years and all that, you know, and the late 90s, early 2000s. And it was all anytime you brought anything up, it was paranoia. It was conspiracy theories. You know, and that's it. As soon as you start to, all these people that are all fucking certain of how things are run and all that, those are people that have given up on intelligence, you know. So as soon as you take reason out the equation and all that, and it's just, oh no, that couldn't happen, that's a conspiracy theory. We weren't paranoid enough during those years, because, you know, everything was true. And I see the way these phone lines go, and the way, like, Rangers fans in particular, I said before, it's like very government-like. It's very Boris Johnson. Don't believe your eyes. Don't believe your ears. You know, don't believe everything that's going to get you. But somehow the world in Glasgow and Scotland and everybody has been institutionalised to look to defraud Rangers out of their rightful entitlement to be simply the best. Simple's right.
Yeah.
You have to be simple to believe that.
You always know they've definitely lost the plot. Well, to be fair, they lose the plot a lot. But you know, when they start talking about Bella Houston Park 1982 being the launching pad for this, you just know that's it. And yeah, those shouts have been doing the rounds this week again. Because on Twitter, you always get many people who go and look on followfollow.com, and they'll get the screen grabs, and there's always some absolute wild moonhowler on that website talking about Bella Houston Park 1982. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Honest to God, man. Like, Jesus, on that. So you just know that they've absolutely lost here. But It's a cycle, Liam. It seems the cycle keeps repeating itself. It's a tale as old as time now. I mean, that's 6 games now that the Belgian Michael Beale has obviously stepped up to the plate, and 6 times he's been unable to stop us. You know, their best result was a free each draw back in March. That they were very happy that day. They were delighted with that result, and in the end, it was actually a very vital point for Celtic, actually being detrimental to Rangers because it was a game that they really did need to win. But yeah, I say when it comes to the cycle, and ever since full time, I just thought I know how this is going to play out because obviously we've got another game looming against them in the start of January, so about 10, 11 days to go. Well, maybe about 13 days, so just under 2 weeks to go, and I say whenever we have these results against them, it just goes in a cycle, just like how their manager cycle, all repeats itself. And right now, obviously, they're very much in the sort of denial, anger phase. I say they're pointing fingers at everybody under the sun. It's everyone else's fault. As I said earlier on, my team had missed a 4-on-1 chance when they were 1-0 up. Then I'd be looking for somebody to blame as well. But I think they really start to look within there. But of course, what will happen after the old denial stages? Eventually they'll just have to reluctantly accept it, because that's all that's going to happen. There's nothing. Nothing dramatic's going to happen. Like the game's going to get replayed, so it's done now. They're just going to have to accept it. But then, of course, what will come after that, Liam, is then the desperation stage. They'll start looking for clutching at straws, and they'll start looking at things that they did right in that game against us and what we did wrong. And to be fair, Rangers caused us a few problems in there, so they'll start to try and find something that they can cling on to. We've been here before, but they've came out a result, they've lost to us, but then they've pinned it on. But see if we do this, and see if we do that again, and repeat this. And what they'll look for, obviously, is, we've seen it before. I remember they played us under Ange when just at the end of Ange's second season when they beat us 3-0 in that league game where it was a dead rubber. That was the thing, it was a dead rubber. And we'd already won the league. We hadn't won the treble that season, but they beat us 3-0 that day. And then suddenly it was all like, Cantwell and Raskin. That's the answer. That's what we need to do. Build the team around them. And of course, the media will chip in and they'll start to stir this up as well. And say they get involved and they'll wheel out some ex-pros to highlight what Rangers actually did well in the cup final, where Celtic have got weak points and whatnot. And I think it'll be. I'm watching how that final played out. I'm telling you right now, the guy that they will home in on, right? Because I say we've seen it with Cantwell, we've seen it with Raskin, we've seen it with John Lundstrom and whatnot in the past. It'll be that Yanis Hadji, and the reason for that is he's a variable that they've not had available to them for about 2 years now because of that contract, obviously, issue that he had where if he played X amount of games, they'd have to up his wages, but they've sorted it now. But he obviously played. I felt he was quite lively without being too dangerous, but that'll be the guy they'll home in on. And do you know why as well? Seeing the penalty shootout, he was giving a bit of back chat to Casper. So they like that. Remember John Lundstrom stared at our players? They love that. Or when Cantwell threw a bottle away for Rio Hatate and Kyogo, they love that shit. They love all that. So they'll be like, Yanis Hadji, he gets it. He gets it when he was giving Casper Schmeichel a bit of lip. I mean, fair enough, it was quite a smart penalty, and he did obviously, tuck it away well. But you don't really start mouthing off until full time, and obviously we went on and won it. It'll just repeat itself. So that'll be the build up, I think, until Ibrox, and then, well, I don't want to spoil it for you, but we kind of know how this goes. And the bigger picture, of course, is, as Brendan said last year, I'll see you in May, Liam. So we know how this ends. We know how it goes. A tale as old as time, mate.
I mean, what an absolute flex it would be if we have somebody signed that hits the ground running and shows up and plays in that New Year's game. You imagine if the rumours are true that a fit, playable Kieran Tierney shows up and plays in that game at Ibrox. They were meant that. Imagine adding Jota on the wing. I mean, if you believe all the paranoia is true, you've got to believe all the rumours are true as well. So you can go both ways. We're going to dream, talk about fantasy. Let's fantasize. That would be brilliant. And I think what it would do, it would trigger them. It would trigger them because it shows how wide the gulf is. And I think that's what I want for Christmas. I want to see, even though they're old presents that somebody's rewrapping and giving you back, I think they'd be 2 fantastic gifts for Celtic this year. And then I think that's what we do. If we go out and we spend, and again, no crazy money, but just improve the positions that we know need improving right now. We know we need a good winger. We know we need a left back. Right, get they two sorted, and then see what else you can add. Because I don't think we should be standing still right now. I think as well too, we're going to have early qualifiers next year as well. So let's get that in. But knowing that our first game is Ibrox, I think we should be recruiting to see who can come in and immediately help that team on the 3rd of January.
Definitely.
Whenever it is.
Smell the gloves added in with Jamesy Forrest now out till February because apparently he's popped an injury. Yeah, he was spotted in one of those protective boots, and Brendan Rodgers confirmed in his presser that it's going to be about 6 weeks before we've got James Forrest available. But yeah,
was
James
that
out till February?
Was that party shenanigans, Phil?
Well, there was a few.
He did have permission to enjoy themselves. Did they perhaps too much enjoy himself?
Well, maybe it was, yeah. Although, Brendan did get asked about, letting the players out to let off some steam to celebrate and all that. So I hope Jamesy was the dancing on the table or anything like that and maybe fell. But yeah, he did appear with a protective boot on. He's out for about 6 weeks. But yeah, smell the gloves added here with Jamesy out till February. I hope a quick winger comes in. But yeah, you did mention it there. A story's doing the rounds. Apparently, Jota wants to leave that Stade Rennes already. I believe he's on loan at Stade Rennes. I think he was only on loan.
They bought him.
No, did they buy him? So he wants to leave after 6 months.
And I think they bought him for about 8 million or something.
Right.
It's a surprisingly low offer to what I thought was with what we paid for Ada. I mean, here's a question for the bus. If you had that choice between the two players spending that same amount of money, would you have been happy with them spending 11 to get? What did we spend on Ida? 9?
It was 8.5, but there's a thing in it that brings up to 9.5 million.
Same money probably for the two of them. Would you rather had Jota back or would you rather had Ida back? Same thing, right?
I mean, Jota obviously for what he did over the 2 years, but we did badly need a striker, like really badly needed one. So striker was such a priority position. But yeah, Jota, he's got the credit in the bank. I mean, there was a few instances last week. I remember David Logue said in the group chat, there was a couple of moments in the game last weekend where Nicholas Kuhn, I think it was one in the first half, it was still 0-0, where he cut inside and just took too long to make his mind up. And it's like, if that's Jota, he gets that shot away a lot quicker. But obviously, Nicholas Kuhn's been putting in fantastic numbers this season. And that's been a debate that's came up a few times on the bus about Jota or Kuhn. Who would you rather have out of they two as well? Because Nicholas Kuhn's trajectory right now with the numbers he's putting up are fantastic. But say Jota, I mean, I don't think it will happen, to be honest, but it is always nice to dream about these things. But I did see, obviously, the headline doing the rounds today. He wants to leave Stade Rennes, so naturally, many Celtic fans are sharing that one, saying, oh, come, bring him home. And of course, you did mention KT. Of course, those rumours are never going to go away. Brendan got asked about it today and obviously just played it coy and just said, we're going to get linked to a lot of good players. And obviously, because of Kieran's, his favourite team being Celtic, he'll be a Celtic fan. He's always going to get linked with us. I mean, I do think a conversation's been had. And I think if we know what we're getting with Kieran Tierney, right? We know exactly what we'll get. And if he is fit, if he is able to stay fit, and from what I believe, after the Euros there, but obviously he copped a pretty bad injury, right, against Switzerland. He went off against Switzerland, didn't he? Try to slide tackle the player while they were on the counter-attack. And honestly, when he went down with that, I genuinely thought he's not going to play this whole season. But from what I'm aware, is he's been fit and ready to go from about October, but just Mikel Arteta just doesn't want him at Arsenal. And I think when he started the other night in that, I think they played a League Cup game against Crystal Palace for the week. I think that was his first start all season. So he has been fit and ready to go for a while, but Mikel Arteta's just not using him. He's clearly been told that he ain't got a future. He does have a 1-year option extension, but apparently Arsenal have decided they're not going to extend that beyond 2025. So can we get him back fully fit on loan in January and then sign him on a free in the summer? I mean, if it's feasible and if he can stay fit, then it's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer, that one. So, we've discussed many times on this show, Liam. It's Friday night tradition to discuss the left-back position, but again, we know what, we get here. But it would be quite ironic, wouldn't it, for all the years that Kieran Tierney's been away and all the attempts we've made to replace Kieran Tierney, that we would end up replacing him potentially with Kieran Tierney.
Well, that's what we're always looking for, a Kieran Tierney type player. You know what? I used to have a soft spot for Arsenal through times. I've had a lot of good pals around the world that supported Arsenal and that, and always wanted to do well. See, in the last year, that's just disappeared. I think the way they treated Kearney was terrible. It's a great player. Marker, I never liked Arteta, and I hate him. Now I've got a reason. Well, there's plenty of reasons. Do you know he's the only football's name that's on the Epstein flight log list?
Oh, I did not know that. No, I did not.
I don't know if people are targeting me with conspiracy stuff for that, but opened up one of the files that had all the full list of everybody that had been in Epstein flight logs. Mikel Arteta.
That's random. Like really random, that one.
Oh, but then I'm thinking, did play with Rangers, so it's going back. You know who else could be on there? But yeah, that's on there. So anyway, or allegedly.
Yeah.
Speaking about conspiracy theories and all that, Phil, then we can go back. Let's talk about Rodgers' comments. Like, I watched the press conference. The way he went on about Desmond and then Greg Taylor, we can get to that. But did you hear Ali McCoist this week? I read the article.
Oh, Ali.
Yeah, so he's back again. I read this. There's an article in his Celtic blog that talked about him being like the danger. Well, danger. I mean, get triggered. It's 2025, anyway. Of McCoist and the rhetoric that he puts out in the name of fact, but also in the sort of the name of his culture and his people and what he's protecting and stuff like that. And you know, and that's what I don't really get. And he's always out there and he's advocating for transparency and exposure. And I agree with the article that it does come across as a very triggered individual that is, you know, like is a complete hypocrite when it comes to how things are done. And now the fact that he is the one that's engaging all the Bears and the conspiracy that Mike Nicholson is now running the SFA. Like we went for Lau, actually we went for McDonald's to, we've had more before that. Man, I think we should be doing better. I think we should be picking our referees. I think picking our strips and branding them and make money off them if we're running that sort of SFA to the way McCoy thinks we are. I don't know. I just think that's delusional. You know, it's a guy's the same age as me. I'm watching for the same signs in case I think I'm getting dementia, you know, because that's what it looks like to me.
He's I do catch him quite a lot on Talksport on the he's on the breakfast show, but see over the last like couple of years, and this is a weird thing because I've known many Celtic fans, and I'll include myself in that. Going back a few years, I didn't really mind if McCoy was on like commentary or punditry or whatever. I was just I kind of bought into the whole cheeky chappy thing, but seeing the last couple of years, man, it's become unbearable. He's so over the top, and the English eat it up, like the English media, all the fans, they love him. Oh, he just comes across like a guy just loves all football, and honestly, I can't. I turn this whole podcast into a 60-minute rant about the stuff that he does. It just triggers me. But honestly, the over the top fakeness, where it's like, I'll tell you what. Can he beat it? Can he beat it, John? You know, just the way he's so over the top, and honestly, it does my head. But I do catch him on the breakfast show. I do stick on Talksport when I'm working from home to listen to Alan Brazil's breakfast show or Jess Stelzos. But Ali's usually always on there, and then especially in the wake of a defeat against us, he will always be sort of things. I mean, they do call him Sleek It for a reason, Liam. It is a very apt what name, because remember a few years back as well, before the days of VAR, remember those days before we had VAR, we had the compliance officer, remember that? And remember the whole, he was demanding to know names of the compliance officer and all that, and putting that rhetoric out there. I mean, there's certain people, certain world leaders, you could say, that like to put a bit of rhetoric into that stirs up their base, and Ali McCoist, it's no different to what some world leaders do, the way they stir up their base by putting these things out there. They just essentially suggest it, and then they go and act on it, essentially. So it's a dangerous, dangerous game. But yeah, I don't buy into him anymore at all. I used to be no too bothered by him, but I just think in the last couple of years, he's everywhere now. and he's just so overbearing. But yeah, very, very sleek it is the appropriate word.
I heard him, I don't know what he was commentating, and it's the first time I'd heard him commentate in a long time. And I think it was the one where I was singing, maybe it was that. Anyway, I can't mind the game. My God, he's got some speech impediment now. He's went from talking normal with just a bit of East Kilbride brogue or whatever it is to a full-on Sean Connery. You know, between him and that boy in the Celtic TV, I don't know, like the Celtic TV, I had to check my sound on that one to see if that was real. You know, to see if that boy really talks like that. I mean, I don't know. It seems to be a weird thing right now where we've got people with really, I don't know, underdeveloped speech patterns now on podcasts and that mix. Podcasts and television shows. Fuck, so there's hope for me and you yet, Phil.
There is indeed. But yeah, it is interesting to see. I think there'll be a few ex-pros getting wheeled out in the media over the next few weeks and having their say on it and whatnot. I say it's the run up to Ibrox. It's going to be that, and I just went over the roadmap essentially that I just went over of what we're going to see, and things like McCoist and other ex-pros, they're going to be wheeled out to stir it up in the build-up. And I've seen a lot of Celtic fans saying you can bet your bottom dollar now that they're 100% getting every decision in the game in January. But my opinion on that right now is, as long as we just keep doing what we're doing and where the gap is what it is, genuinely, like, we could go to Ibrox and they'll get a result and we'll still be sitting pretty at the top of the table. We've put ourselves in a great position right now. It's not like the turn of the year last year where we completely capitulated in the run-up to the new year. And then when we went into that game at Celtic Park, like, they were breathing right down our necks for a game in hand, and we did win that day. But I remember we came back for the January break and I think we stumbled against Aberdeen. We had a really mediocre performance against Ross County and we just didn't look up to it. But right now, it's a night and day in terms of like how the team's been playing. So we've put ourselves in a strong position right now where, and obviously I don't want this to happen, but we are in a fortunate position where we could go to Ibrox and get beat and we'll still be like, we're still well ahead as long as we keep doing what we're doing and the run up to it. And there's no guarantees that they're going to get all the points on the board between now and then as well. Let's remember that. It's all well and good them talking about, narrowing the gap and whatnot if they can beat us there. But what if they drop a few more points and we keep winning? So the gap is even bigger than 11 points by the time we kick off in January the 2nd. That's always a factor as well. But let's try and concentrate then on, get off of the Rangers side of things. And obviously, I know they've been dominating the headlines, but just in general, I mean, what a humding. I mean, last week we sat here with Johnny, right? Called it the predictions. And I actually said at the end of the show, my prediction, I said, a scrappy 1-0. I says it won't be a good advert for Scottish football. The weather will be crap and probably won't lend itself to the game. Well, what the hell do I know? Because I just did not see that coming at all. Like, that was a wild, wild game and frustrating more than anything. The strange to say, I know it sounds easy to say it now, the dust is settled. But during the game, I wasn't like nervous. Like, I know a lot of fans will get really nervous during that fixture and worried and whatnot. I was just frustrated because, again, I didn't think Rangers were that good for all the hype and all the brouhaha. It was all down to mistakes from us. Obviously, we know the first goal, right? And we're going again, it's Friday night. We have to mention Greg Taylor. Obviously, he's played a slack pass and they've capitalised on it. Remarkably similar goal to Adam Ida's goal in the cup final in May. I think is it Bajrami, I think his name is, the boy that scores. He's practically in the same position. A rebound that comes out to him, he puts it in the net. But yeah, I mean, that was so easily avoidable, that one. The second goal is just a wee nick off of Kyogo's boot and it defies, Kasper Schmeichel because he's saving that. Diamondi does all right to get the turn on. Who's it marking him? Was it like Scales? Whoever was marking him really tight. Yeah. He turns him. Gets not a great shot away, but yeah, Kyogo just sticks a foot out. It grazes off it and it's enough to take it past him. And then for the third goal, I mean, I play a lot of FIFA online and whatnot, and most people who play FIFA will know that is a FIFA goal where you score and then within 30 seconds your opponent kicks off and they just go right up the park and score. And it's like we couldn't stop the cross coming in. I say Carter Vickers, I saw a few people pointing the finger at him, but to me, it's like Tony Ralston, you've got to be aware of Danilo coming in from that side. So every goal that I felt with Rangers was just down to us, just making silly mistakes. Like our third goal, I thought was excellent. You know, Ralston does well in our third goal because he starts the move with a great pass. And obviously, we work up the park. Engels gets the byline, cuts it back to Nicholas Kuhn, who obviously gets forward and scores it brilliantly. So I felt like, you know, we overall in the balance of play, it's one of the ones where they're getting glamorized. Oh, they were a better team and whatnot. I don't think so. I think it was quite 50-50 at times. But we definitely looked like the ones wanted to play football, especially in extra time. I mean, extra time was a total non-event. They were just hanging on, just trying to stop us at all costs at that stage. But yeah, overall, say a bit of a frustrating day. But I'm not worried. I'm not buying into the hype, William, that they've suddenly turned the corner and this is it. We better be afraid now. So, but what was your overall feelings on the final, other than the emotional wreck it maybe left you after the penalties?
I mean, not much of what you said I disagree with there at all. I mean, that's exactly how I've seen the game. I didn't think we were in any danger of losing it. And yeah, you know, it's frustrating. I get frustrated with the Greg Taylor position as well, because again, you just have to see it, you know, and you know it's there and all that, and it happens. And in fact, you try not to become a parody yourself. You know, it's like when I'm looking for the guy to make mistakes. Trust me, I don't want to see him make mistakes. I don't want to see him in the team, but when I do, it's like, fuck, I try and cheer him on. I mean, he covered okay with the goal and that, but even that, he got a very fortunate deflection on that. But you know what? Good on him for getting up there and that. And the fact kept his head in the game, that's great as well. I was puzzled by Rodgers' comments today in the press conference. You know, the way he went on about Desmond. First thing in the morning, he thinks about Celtic. Last thing at night, he thinks about Celtic. I think everything in between is included in there as well. Not sure. But first and last, I still have a hard time believing that. I really, really, really do. And I don't know. Maybe he thinks about the money he's making off Celtic. Maybe that's what he thinks about. And then his comments about Greg Taylor. I mean, honestly, I had to look at his eyes to see if he was blinking Morse code or something, that Greg Taylor had his family tied up in a basement. Because the way he went on about him, that's not the same player that I've seen in the weekend. That's not the same type of player that I've seen Rodgers coming out and giving, you know, slagging off, saying that they have to develop or they have to buck up their games or they have to that. That's a Taylor. I think he's in love with Greg Taylor. I know. I think everybody's in love with Greg Taylor. I don't know, just out of love. What sort of cold, heartless bastard am I? Even at this Christmas time, that I can't find this Greg Taylor love in it. I can't be a part of that. So I don't know, Phil.
You're that internet Homer Simpson meme where he's standing in the bar and everyone around him is talking about the same thing apart from him. They're all talking about Greg Taylor. Honestly, I've heard those comments as well, and honestly, I'm taking them with a pinch of salt, because I think it's Brendan just towing the party line. About Desmond, I agree. I don't think he's going to come out and say, he's the absent landlord or anything. I think he's going to do that. But see, the Greg Taylor one, this is not the first time this season he's talked about, bigged up Greg Taylor and talked about wanting to sign a contract, and the contract still hasn't been signed. I think at the end of the day, he's just again towing the party line. I don't think he's going to come out and say, no, he's rubbish, we don't want him here or anything like that. I still think Greg Taylor will leave. I still think his contract will run down. I think he'll leave. End of the season, I can't see Celtic letting him go for nothing. I keep on saying this, but I feel like Celtic are going to make a move in January to get some kind of money back for him, even if it's a few 100,000 or something. Honestly, because he's out of contract in the summer, so he can go for nothing. But I feel like Celtic will try and recoup something for him, because they just will. It's how they do things. But I still think we're going. I just think it was Brendan just being Brendan, essentially. I can't imagine him coming out and saying, yeah, he's rubbish, we don't want him here. He's obviously going to praise him and big him up. But again, take it all with a pinch of salt. But one of the stories I heard through, different people is apparently Taylor's looking for upwards of about 28 grand a week in his new contract, and that's one of the things that's one of the things when Brendan was talking about. We need to make sure we need to get everything right.
How could you not love Greg Taylor? How could you not love him with audacity and a cheek when people are out here watching him play football, watch them sky it into the air, watch them. He can't even take a fucking throw in now. I think that's worth 28 grand a week. 28 grand. Holy fuck, what could you get for 28 grand? How much? 20? What is he on now? Even if he's on 20 grand, that is fucking insane in this day and age. He's a limited football player. And I think he's off to LA. I definitely do.
Los Angeles,
I think that's his target. And I think with the amount of people that support him, I think he's signed up for they're going to reboot the Harry Potter franchise with Greg Taylor, right? Because whatever magic he's doing to get that much money and then disappearing on the park. Aye, he's the new Harry Potter.
People in the comments come in, MC saying 28k, fuck's sake, no chance. 28? Again, just take it a pinch of salt. It's one of these ones that's doing the rounds, one of the rumours as to why a deal hasn't been signed yet. Apparently he's holding out for that type of money. Again, don't shoot the messenger. But something he's holding out for something anyway. I mean, at the end of the day, if he's that keen to stay, he would have signed the deal by now. And the fact that he hasn't suggests that something is not matching up with what he and his agent want to what the club want to give him. There's got to be a problem there.
They should get him there dealing with Zelensky and stuff like that. They two look like they're built for the same cloth. If you can get 28k Celtic supporters, that's it. I'm going to start watching MLS or something like that because it's just not what this club was built for. Honestly, this shows Jesus. That's what should be keeping Dermot awake. It should be the first thing he thinks in the morning, and the last thing he thinks at night is, "Oh fuck, Greg Taylor." That's what I do.
John Connor said no sentiment in football. Taylor is a liability, but I say there's mixed opinions again. A lot of Taylor support as well in the chat, as always. Friday night, as there always is. Also, John Connor's added this. This is a strange phenomenon. I've noticed this for years. This even goes back to when Kieran Tierney was our left back. I call it the indecisive throw-in. And it always seems to come from our left side where we've got a throw-in. Really simple. Part of the game, Liam. You just take the ball. A player moves to a position where you can throw it to him. And it always seems like we just stand for each of the ball over his head, just waiting for something, and it's like it's always on the left side. Even Taylor,
you know what it is? No, it's a Taylor thing. Anne's got it out him for a bit. I think it's a new haircut. He knows he's on camera. He knows that thing, and so when you see him, you look at him. Everybody else is just running about with a Fitbit face. Greg Taylor's doing like some sort of quantum arithmetic in his head, where and then just throws it to one of their players anyway. No, get him out the door.
The wise man has spoken, folks. The wise man, you're not going to sway him. You can try. So there's people in the chat. You can try, but you ain't going to convince them. But yeah, as it stands still, well, obviously you can now talk to clubs as of January the 1st. So if he is going to go, I hope it's a case of we get it dealt with quickly and we know what's happening and it doesn't drag on and become a saga. But yeah, left back's definitely a position that we'll need to look at in the January window and maybe even further afoot. So we don't know what's going on yet with Vallier. Is he going to be here next season or whatnot? We'll need to wait and see on that one. But yeah, 20 minutes to go. And we'll now talk about the Dundee United game because yeah, we are back to league action. The League Cup is now done and dusted. It's in the trophy cabinet. Celtic currently hold all 3 trophies, a familiar feeling to Celtic fans, but all 3, and I see Celtic did post a picture last week from the trophy room of all 3 of them reunited again, back together. And there's a very good chance that they may as well just keep the padlock on the cabinet for the rest of the season.
I thought that was one of our trophies, like the bike and the Loving Cup that somehow.
The trophies. Yeah, that's right. Of course, the ones. Yes, our 119 trophies. Apparently now, according to them, according to Rangers, the rules are that they were the world's most successful club with 118. Well, I guess because of their rules, I guess that makes us the most successful club now. So what a world we live in. But yeah, Celtic did post the 3 trophies together. So I say you may as well just keep the padlock on the trophy cabinet because there's a good chance that those 3 trophies won't be departing at the end of the season as well. We'll wait and see. Scottish Cup is only one that we need to make sure because I think the league is may as well just put a fork in it already because I think it's done. I can't see us dropping that many points between now and the end of the season. So we'll keep our on there. But yeah, we do return to Scottish Premiership action. We do still have a job to do. There is still points to get on the board. And yeah, the first time we'll be playing against Dundee United this season, and they've actually been doing all right, which is good to see. I've quite, the way Scottish Premiership is, you want to see teams have a bit of name value instead of teams like Livingston and Hamilton Accies and whatnot. And yeah, so when Dundee United have spent so many seasons wallowing around in the second tier, and then they came back up for a couple of seasons, then went back down again, and it's like they came up, they're sitting pretty. But we've had a couple of a couple of scares from Dundee United in the last couple of seasons. Ultimately, we've got the victories against them, but there's been a couple of games where they've gave us a wee bit of a fright. I remember one at Celtic Park in under Ange 2022, where they scored quite a late equaliser to make it 2 each, but then we managed to get 2 goals near the end. I think Kyogo scored, and I say Abada scored, but of course the most famous one is the Abada last-minute goal against them at Celtic Park, which was right before we played Rangers in that quite infamous 3-0 victory. A huge, huge victory in that night. But I'm looking forward to Sunday. You know, I say it's always a decent tie-up at Tannadice, but it'll be a good atmosphere as well. And yeah, it's it's also in the festive period and all fixtures, so I have quite a run of games from now until Ibrox. But yeah, how are you expecting it to go initially, Liam, before we get into the sort of finer details of the team? What are you expecting from Dundee United?
Honestly, it's just a good hard game. I think that's one of the teams that depends on the weather. You know, when you get a game that's in the elements, like real hard, windy, rainy and all that, and you play against a good, honest Scottish team as well that, you know, have grown up playing in that environment and all that, but also as well, you know, have a good team bonding. Like, I don't know. I think Dundee, they give us troubles because they're hard working, and I think their manager right now, who is it? Goodwin.
It's Jim Goodwin. Yeah,
Goodwin,
one of Russell's favourites, big handsome Jim Goodwin. He loves him.
That's like, I know. I'm
Silver Fox.
That was a picture Russell was holding up when we went to Turkey with the hair. Made me like that, you know, just no grey, and you know. But I think you always expect when he had St Mirren used to give us a hard game as well. You know, when he was the manager. And I think he's one of these guys like McInnes and that understand the Scottish game and can show up every now and again when their tactics work, when their players do well and they don't make mistakes and they do what they're told. He can usually figure out a good way how to stifle Celtic for a while. And usually the longer that goes on, the better that tactic works, right? If we come in early and we blow the doors off them, these managers, they tend to crumble because they don't really have a plan B for that. They can try and just sort of limit the damage, but they're not coming out, they're not attacking anymore. They're not going for a win, you know? So I think that's the sort of game. For me, I think it's all about momentum, keeping it going. You know, Rodgers started it. This is an invincible season right now, and we have to look at it and start treating it as such. And that means every game's a must-win. Every game's a must-win. Regardless what they're doing, and even if they lose points in the weekend, which I think they will. But I think, now's the time just to pull ahead and get this done and dusted. I want to see new players come into the team in January, and I want to see us, okay, we're having a good run at Europe this year, but let's see with a bit of finesse and a bit of training. And come on, Rodgers, do your magic, get a team together, manage some people, you know.
Oh, it's interesting that you just brought up a certain word there. You just uttered a certain word. And I was going to ask this at some point, but you've just mentioned it because we're all talking. The T word has been on people's minds now that the treble is, we are the only team that can win the treble now because, you know, there's the League Cup in the cabinet. So that word's been doing the rounds now, suggesting it. But you just mentioned the I word there, invincible. Now, this has been going through my mind, but it's like, now, to be honest, I'm not bothered about if we go invincible or not. As long as we get the trophies at the end of the season, I'm not really bothered. But it would be quite something if Celtic could do it again, given what they did in 2016-17 as well, and that's what, less than a decade ago. It would be some story if they went through all 3 domestic competitions again, invincible. Now, there's 2 questions to this. Obviously, can they do it? Yeah, they can. Definitely. It's not outside the realms of possibility. They've done it before, and the way they've been playing so far this season, they can. Will they do it is another story. What do you think, Liam? Do you think we will do it? Do you think we'll get that invincible? I say it's not. I don't think it's the be all and end all. It's just it's a great accolade to say, but could it happen again? Could it?
You know what? I think it's a wonderful carrot for Rodgers to wave in front of this team, because they've done trebles. They've done a lot of it with Ange, but this would really define a Rodgers team, because a Rodgers team are invincible. And I think at this point now, when you get to the halfway point, he must be planting that seed somewhere. Might not be those exact words of that terminology, the word invincible. But right now, you hear a lot of the players talking. I can't remember who it was. I seen an interview with one of the foreign-based players, and he was talking about the culture of winning. And when he come to Celtic, you're expected to. Oh no, it was what do you call him? The goalie, Schmeichel.
Casper Schmeichel. I was watching the clip
watched that one, right?
Ben Foster. I nearly said Fraser Foster, which ironically, during the interview, Ben Foster mentions people come up to him and say, "Oh, Fraser," they get him mixed up. Yeah, Ben Foster, yes, the former Watford goalkeeper. Aye.
And he talked about that culture of winning. And it wasn't about Rodgers' culture, that's something that he instilled in Leicester. No. This was a Celtic thing. This was coming for the captain, coming for everybody, tea lady, everybody. That is our culture. Our culture is to win games. And that became very apparent. And I think that's what's coming through for Rodgers right now. That winning, yeah, of course. You don't have to say that you're going to be an invincible if you're expected to win every game. If you're expected to win every game, you're invincible. And I think the only game we've lost this year is that one against Dortmund.
Borussia Dortmund's the only game we've lost. Aye.
Yeah, we did not lose any exhibition games this year.
That's right. We had a good pre-season, didn't we?
We had a very good pre-season. We Chelsea and Man City. And did you watch John Joe Kenny against Chelsea the other night? Or Johnny Kenny? John Joe. Fucking hell.
Johnny Kenny. Yeah, although to be fair, John Joe Kenny strangely was linked with us recently, and it was like, no, please tell me that's been lost in translation in some sort of German article. Like, surely not. I'd imagine it has been, but yeah, Johnny Kenny. But Shamrock Rovers, I think, qualified for the knockout stages, because, and of course the Jambos didn't, which I found quite funny. World's smallest violin playing for Hearts there. But yeah, to hell with the
but he's getting recalled, right? He's getting recalled by us.
I heard that.
So I was watching him with a bit more interest than I usually do and all that. And I thought he looked really lively. I thought he had movement. You know, he seems to be like a lesser version of Kyogo and Ida combined into one player. You know, so I don't know if it's the one we're looking for, but you know what? I'd love to see him get an opportunity, because at some point he did give the Chelsea fullbacks problems, and so you know that was him playing against elite players, and so I thought it was good to watch and just see what his highlights are. I'd love to hear if anybody else in the bus watched that game, and if you thought
the thing is, if he's coming in to be, again, we keep talking about a third striker choice, because right now you've got Kyogo and Ida, and if injuries set in, which is very easy, can happen, we've got a few problems there. I know Dizan could probably play through the middle, but I much prefer Dizan causing all sorts of carnage coming down the wing. I think that's his strongest position. So we do need a third choice striker, but then it's like, do you go out and spend money on a guy that's quite happy to sit and be third choice? We've got a boy there who's obviously signed for us as a youngster. He's been out on loan most of the time. I think he would be quite a safe option to have as a third choice striker. He can come off the bench from time to time, maybe start the occasional game, maybe when the pressure's off a wee bit, to see what he's all about. I don't think he's a guy that's going to be kicking in Brendan Rodgers' door demanding game time. You know, I don't think he's going to cause problems in the training ground and in the dressing room and whatnot. So I think it's a fair shout to give him a go. The boy has been scoring in European football, and I know we can look at the Conference League and call it, but it's still a European competition. At the end of the day, it's a higher standard than some of the games he would play in Scotland. So fair enough, he's been scoring goals at a decent level. So I think he's worth a shout. But I'm just glad it's Johnny Kenny, and as you say, not John Joe Kenny, because that article gave me a panic attack the other week. I was like, that can't be right. That's got to be lost in translation somewhere from German to English, because it was a German article that it came from. I was like, that can't be, no chance. But on the subject, though, just mentioned John Joe Kenny, that's a subject for this Sunday. Right back. So apparently Alistair Johnson won't make it for Sunday. Apparently he's got a niggle. Obviously he pulled up in the cup final as well. Ralston came on. So that looks like the sort of main injury problem I think we're going to have, because will Carter Vickers start another game? They have had a week off. I know we keep on talking about Carter Vickers, so he's in that sort of precarious position. How many games in a row can he play? But again, with Trusty and Scales, I'm confident enough with either of the two, or if one of them comes in for Carter Vickers, obviously it'd be Scales. I would get Scales and Trusty together. It doesn't worry me too much. But yeah, Ralston obviously playing it right back. I think that's a position that we need to look at as well, because I know Tony Ralston had that real purple patch a season under Ange in his first season, no doubt about it. He was absolutely clutch for us at times. Some of the moments that he provided, some of the goals he scored, and some of the forms he put in. But I just feel like after that, he's just never really pushed on from there and never really progressed, because obviously Ralston came through our youth ranks. He didn't have the best of starts at Celtic. You know, he had the instant Neymar, where Neymar was, he was laughed at Neymar's face in a game that we lost 5-0. And yeah, he got loaned out to teams like St Johnstone, Dundee United and whatnot. And then, yeah, they obviously had that purple patch under Ange, but he's never really pushed on for this. I'd like to think that right back is another position that we're looking at, because I think we can get better, Liam. I really do. But for the time being, Ralston will do a job. He'll be fine. But you want players more than just they'll do a job. You know, we're at that stage where I think we need to be looking at that now. You want players that can come in and Brendan Rodgers headaches. Not a guy that, okay, he'll be fine for this one game, this 2 games he's got to play. You want somebody that will come in, and then Brendan at the end will be like genuinely like, oh, Alistair Johnson's got a bit of competition there. But I think that is the only injury problem that I think we've got going into the game, Liam.
I think that's when you look at opportunities. I think Ralston, he didn't have his best game when he came on. He made a couple of mistakes and that, but he did a number of good things as well. What I like about Ralston is, as opposed to like Greg Taylor, I don't see them as being the same. I see Ralston as someone that learns from his mistakes, and I see Ralston as someone that is not blessed with talent, but actually does give it all. Ralston doesn't hide. Ralston takes a booting and gets up. Ralston throws himself into tackles that he knows he's going to get hurt. You know, that game-changing tackle that he had against Hibernian at the halfway line, that shows you everything who Tony Ralston is. You know, and he's going to make mistakes. But, you know, I think he's run his course with us. I think out of a boy that came through our academy, this guy got to play. Yeah, he made his debut in a Champions League game against Neymar, and then held down a place in a Scotland squad, you know, at a major competition and all that. So I think Anthony Ralston should be really, really pleased with the career and his contribution to Celtic. And I think we should be looking for somebody up and coming to replace him. Interesting note, Alistair Johnson was named the number 2 soccer, kickball, football, whatever you call it, player here in Canada.
Oh, number 2.
Number 2.
Alphonso Davies, number 1, by any chance?
No.
Jonathan David? Was it him?
Jonathan David, number 1.
Okay.
Johnson Bombito, who he was someone that I talked about on the Celtic podcast about 2 years ago. We were talking about signing players, and Ange was here. We talked about Bombito that played for Canada in the World Cup alongside Johnson. That he didn't have a great World Cup, but I watched him playing afterwards in other games since then, and he was right on the radar. And I thought, this guy looks a solid player. Yeah. He was number 2. He's at Nice right now. Okay. And then number 3, I think, was the other striker we've got.
Is it Buchanan? Is a boy named Buchanan that plays for?
He's been injured. He's been injured for a year, but he's talked about him as well years ago. Played with his old man. He's at Inter Milan now. He had a really bad injury just before the Gold Cup. He didn't play in that, but his coming back to Canada when the thing, he will be our danger player. Alphonso Davies, I'm surprised that he was at number 4. But Alphonso Davies is one of the best fullbacks in the world. And I really, really hope that when Johnson looks over to that side of the park, that he gets to see someone that dynamic or that equivalent in Celtic, and that would up his game. Because right now he's that guy. And I don't know, I think Johnson's still a very, very rough player. I think he's got a lot of good attributes. But it's not like he's blessed with an overabundance of skill or stuff that Tony Ralston doesn't have. He reads the game a little better, but he does his weaknesses as well. Johnson too. So anyway, I'm happy he got number 2. I'm glad he's playing with Celtic. I'm unhappy he's injured right now, but I think Tony Ralston could come in and take a chance out of that and help us in that back line, because he will get better. And then we should be looking for somebody new. Oh,
definitely. It is interesting though when you're talking about markets to look in and talking about Canada, like the players you're naming there, the clubs that you're saying they're playing for, teams like Lille
Yep.
and Nice that play in France, and you get Inter Milan, Bayern Munich. It's like I said it in the run up to the World Cup in 2022. I said it to the run up to the Euros. I talked about markets we should be looking in. These countries that 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't even blink an eye. If we all linked a player from some of these countries, you would just be like, looking there for. Big clubs are starting to catch on that these teams are producing good players. Canada qualified for the 2022 World Cup, and that was their first one since 1986. It's like these teams are getting better, and you need to catch on before the big teams start getting there. So Inter Milan and Bayern Munich have got Canadian players now. So it's like that's the run up to the Euros. I talked to teams like Albania and Georgia. Georgia, who were in Scotland's qualifying group and ended up getting through to the knockout stages while Scotland went home, the first team eliminated. It's like there's players in these teams that, there's a few that are playing for big clubs in Europe. But it's like we need to catch on, and these are good markets to look in. So hopefully,
well, look at Iceland. Iceland a few years ago.
That's right, Iceland. Yeah,
and they ended up in Germany, Bundesliga, Serie A, all that, and there was a lot of good players that came through. I think it's these countries that are very. Canada always produced good players just by the amount of immigrants that are here, and like you see guys here. You're talking. Her dad played with fucking. I played football with a guy here in the early 80s that went to Real Madrid, and that didn't even make the paper. Canadian guy, Branco Segota. His name's Branco Segota. In the early 80s, he went from Toronto to Real Madrid, and it didn't even. And I don't even think none of the commentators even talk about stuff like that. Like it was the media that was terrible for football, but the football in the park was brilliant. Yeah. It was always really good. And there was loads of different teams, and most of the Canadian anybody that's watching it played youth tournaments in the States and all that. Yeah, no many's didn't beat Canadian teams. The Wexford and stuff like that. Those Canadian teams used to rule youth tournaments over there, playing against like the best of Celtic and Rangers and all sorts of teams for Europe and South America, and so now they've got it where they managed to translate that into creating professionals. Right, we've always had the talent. Now they've got the development and stuff. Yeah. Government used to handle all that. Now it's like they got training academies and all that, and they're privately financed. That's where you're getting to see the players now. They've got a pathway and a route. And it's a shame because Scotland's going to have to come to Canada and places like that to learn how to regenerate their game as well, so that our boys, still have those opportunities as well to play in big clubs.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's been a crop of Scottish players recently have been going to like Italy and stuff. I mean, McTominay is doing well out in Italy. Lewis Ferguson and Billy Gilmore are all playing out there. The boy who was at Hibs a few years ago, I think he's still there. Is it Doig? Yeah, he's still out there as well. So Italy has no problem signing Scottish players, but we're going to need to learn from countries like Canada and whatnot. Because after that Euros performance, dreadful. But yeah, in terms of Johnson's probably our only injury concern. The midfield, that is still the jersey that's up for grabs. Engels came on. Hatate started last week. Hatate was kind of his sort of usual self right now. He did a lot of good things and a lot of bad things in equal measure. I felt, there was a lot of, for every ball that was given away, there was a great pass. Russell, I thought, was right on PMP as Rangers started to toil and get tired. Hatate got better in the game. That's no coincidence. But Engels obviously did come on as well, and he was involved in the third goal that we scored. He did very well getting to the byline and cutting it back for Kuhn, but a lot of heavy touches as well. So similar to Hatate, there was good and there was bad. The one in extra time where he took such a horrendous touch when he get threaded in. I want to say by Hatate, ironically. Hatate threaded him in perfect, great weighted pass, and he just took a horrendous touch and he just ran right through to Butland. It's like that was the moment of glory right there for Engels. But hey, he stood up in the penalty shootout, converted that well. Still got 100% record for the spot for us. So that's still the jersey. I mean, obviously now Luke McCown will be available for the game on Sunday, which I think was a bit of a problem for us last week because obviously Bernardo came off at when Bernardo came off, I was puzzled. I say Hatate and Engels, it was a toss-up between the two. For me, Bernardo, I thought he'll play the entire game. But no, he was taken off during the game. But I think Bernardo needs to keep his place. I thought again last week, very steady performance. I think right now you go with the guys that are in for him. Bernardo's in for him. McGregor's in for him. And with Hatate and Engels, it's a 50-50 right now. But does Luke McCown come in? I mean, he's used to the Dundee games against Dundee United. We're playing with Dundee. At the start of the season, they kicked off a Dundee derby to start the season as well. And he scored in that one, I'm pretty sure, for Dundee. So he's used to playing against them. Could Luke McCown come back in? I don't think it's actually doing a possibility, Liam.
You know what? Last old game, because of my age, I was sitting about 4 feet away from a 20 by 30 foot screen. And so I was watching Bernardo make tackles as if I was in them, and I was really impressed by his tackling. I've started to notice it in games. He's probably the best tackler in our team right now. He maybe other than Carter Cameron Vickers. But yeah, he goes in, and knowing that way Matt O'Reilly used to go in, like the baby giraffe style, right? Like clumping down in that. No, he goes in and he doesn't get called for fouls. Matt O'Reilly was always getting called for fouls and all that. He knows his timing is so good. It's no bravery and like his timing is so good at making a tackle and getting his leg in there that it doesn't cause the foul, but still fights for the ball, It's no clean, he still gets it. So I really like that, and I think for that reason alone, you can't drop him. God, I mean, I thought Callum was really off on Sunday. Yeah. I don't know what to do with him, because when he doesn't work, Bernardo and Hatate don't work. Engels doesn't work. We've talked to that. He's that big cog that makes Rodgers' team click, and if his one of the teeth are missing, which looks like it was the other day, it doesn't, he's not doing that. He's not getting the team moving and all that, and he's got to be that guy that's keeping the beat going. And I don't know, maybe it's good. Maybe he just needs a rest. He's played a lot of football. Maybe we play McCown in that and see what happens. And if it goes sideways or whatever, we're not feeling that's comfortable, bring him back. Bring him on.
There's a lot of talk beside Luke McCown that his style of play is very similar to McGregor, so maybe he's seen as some kind of stand-in for him when needed. I don't think just because he's a club captain, we made that mistake with Scott Brown, where Scott Brown became, I know he's the club captain, but there's nothing wrong with giving him a wee rest here and there. There isn't anything wrong with that. So.
Phil, we slagged them across the road for that as well. Like when you look at that objectively as Rangers as a team and all that, and the amount of times that they've not, we know that Maeda owns him. Everybody knows it's the biggest meme joke in Glasgow, right? But they're the same. That's their captain. Can he drop him? We have to start looking at our captain in that way as well, and that's something that Mark has been jumping on that for 2 years now.
Yeah,
right? And a lot of us have talked about that, but. Yeah, it just seems to be, guaranteed a place. I'll be surprised if Greg Taylor comes in ahead of Valley again. That would baffle me as well. And it just some of those complexities of football I just don't understand as a supporter.
Greg Taylor, you don't understand. That's simply it. You just go like, what is the point? But obviously, it might be over soon, Liam. Don't worry. Hang in there, mate. It might be over soon. Might. But yeah, in terms of the forwards as well, I think it's going to be. I mean, Ida might come in for Kyogo, but Nicholas Kuhn and Maeda, they're going to keep their place. And I can't believe we didn't even mention this tonight. What a moment last week when Maeda scored that goal. Unbelievable.
Oh, man.
See when he initially won the ball from the header and obviously it left Balogun exposed. Were you confident when he was running through, or did you think this could go anywhere? Because you know what I got a flashback to? Do you know what I got a flashback? See the game against Rangers a couple of years ago, we drew 2 each, and he scored after like 4 minutes where Tavernier played it. No, Morelos played it to him, and he beats Goldson and he beats Tavernier one after the other, and he's 1-on-1 with Alan McGregor. And at that time, I'm like, anything could happen here. And there was a wee bit of me, but his composure, admittedly, has got better. And I should never have doubted him, because there was a wee moment I was like, hold my breath for a second, like, what's going to happen here? But he finished it absolutely brilliantly. What a goal, what a moment. And I got my wish. I said it last Friday as well, Liam. One of the things I wanted to see during that cup final was a close-up of Tavernier with the big wide eyes, looking like a deer in the headlights. And right after that goal, they switched to Tavernier, shouting at one of the other players, big wide eyes, aggressive, looking like a deer in the headlights, essentially. And it was like, that's what Daizen Maeda does against him. I love it. I can't get enough of that, but what a moment. And hopefully he keeps that up against Dundee United on Sunday.
My Tavernier bingo card had the disappointed being shout.
Disappointed, yep.
If we could get him eyes wide open, raging, shouting disappointed at the other players, that is it. We just pack it up or go do another podcast. We've got it all at that point, right? I don't know, man. So we talked about Daeda. You never know. As soon as it leaves his foot, I don't even know if it's going to stay in the park. You know, like Daeda's Daeda. It's just like, fucking hell, okay. He surprises you all the time. He surprises you with skill, surprises you with speed, surprises you with tenacity, tackling back and all that. And we still complain about him. We still complain about him. We still slag him off. I'm surprised it stayed in the park. He scored some absolutely spectacular goals for Celtic. If we were getting that highlight reel for any other team and he was coming in this window, we would be just absolutely, over the moon with joy that was a player that we were getting that could the potential to do that for Celtic. This guy's done that for Celtic, and he's done it in big games, and he's given us big moments. And you've got a career, and honestly, what's he going to look back at? I'm sure he's got some great stuff in Tokyo, but we've got stuff to look back on now, So, yeah, I've loved having him as a player, and so liked him for the first minute we got him. He made an impact with the fans almost immediately.
Yep.
Him and Hatate. And we knew he was raw at that sort of point, but fuck, he was likeable. Huh?
Yeah,
and you always like a guy that's likeable too. But, Hatate maybe not as much, but, Daizen and Kyogo, they came across as like just stars, They got that presence and stuff. It makes them good football players, but also, yeah, it's just like, give you, box office, as we like to say in the bus,
Aye, it definitely is. I definitely gets you up on your seat. And funny enough, I remember he scored. Actually, remember he was announced, him and Hatate and Ideguchi, they were all announced the day before the January window opened.
Oh, aye.
Hopefully we do something similar to that this year, right before we play Rangers. But I remember he scored in his debut like 3 minutes in against Hibs. It was a Monday night game we had to play. And but yeah, he was off to the race after that. But honestly, he's the definition of a cult hero at times. And 1 minute he can, similar to I would say with Georgie Samaras, where a few years ago when we had him, where 1 minute he'll like trip over the ball and fall flat in his face, and then the next minute he'll just get up and bang one in the top corner, and it's like that's Daizen Maeda. See, Samaras was the same. Just this, he could be really unorthodox, really clumsy, and then he was capable of something incredible. So yeah, he's class, man. And that goal last week, God, what a moment. The Daizen Maeda final, I think Terry said it on PMP. We'll look back at that and say the Daizen Maeda final, so goes, he steps up and he scores that winning penalty. So hopefully Sunday he takes that forum in and keeps that feel good going.
I hope he's here. I hope he's here till his hair's as long as mine.
Oh yeah, aye. Well, I always say when he's got his hair, he's got his powers. When he's bald, he's a bit more inconsistent. But when he's got that blonde hair on the go, he seems to it seems to work for him. Now, before we go to our score predictions, obviously at the start of the show, I did a teaser. Who's the mystery player this week? So I'll get the graphic up. What's a week? So here we go. So Liam, who is the mystery player? He played for Celtic, Norwich, Reading, and Bournemouth. What you saying to it, Liam?
Is that Peter Grant?
Oh, is a shout, and you would be right. It is Peter Grant, Ray. It is Peter Grant. It is a Jerry McCulloch favourite. It's a Celtic TV favourite.
Oh my God!
I thought I would get him in there because I know you love a wee Jerry McCulloch mention as well on the Bhoys bus. But yeah, he's obviously a regular co-commentator now on Celtic TV. Peter Grant. Yeah, a few people got it in the chat as well. I seen that earlier on. People were saying Peter the Pointer, they were calling him. I mean, me and Johnny did the centenary season Bustalgia, because when I began following Celtic and getting into football, Peter Grant was definitely in the sort of twilight of his career at that point. I mean, it was like 94. So I didn't get to see much of Grant in his heyday, but I always, because I didn't see him playing the prime of his career in Celtic in the 80s. How was he as a player? Because I get mixed reviews with him, where some people say, "Oh, he was really the call Peter the Pointer," as I say, that's all he did. Right. But then other guys will, big him up and say he was a great player. I mean, one memory that I do have that I've seen, like, videos of and whatnot. He scored at Ibrox, I believe, and then ran over to the Broomlow end and blessed himself in the Broomlow.
I mean, I think that's where the legendary status comes for anybody that does stuff like that. We've always got the Bruneys and even Greg Taylor, shut your pie hole, fat boy. There's always a place in Celtic folklore for the bampots, that like to do that sort of stuff. As a player, I mean, remember, didn't see him a lot there on like TV and video and that a few times and that, but he always looked industrious. He looked like one of the guys that you need in your team that's going to do all the growly work for you. He's going to dig you out the holes. He's going to get involved in tackles and all that. And
San Fran Celtic saying kneeled down and blessed himself. And that's it. I've seen the image of him doing it in front of the Broomlow end, kneeling down and blessing himself in front of the Celtic fans. But also San Fran Celtic does add, granted, he's a real Celtic man. Beware of imitations. He certainly is that.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
But you know what? He's just one of the players. Like for me, I always love it. I love a creative player and stuff like that. And Grant's one of the guys you need in your team to win trophies. And and I'm just surprised as a pundit because he just didn't look the most colourful of men. I mean, I've got to, again, through sitting at the luxury of the big screen at the Vancouver Celtic Supporters Club, if anyone wants to come and visit us with a massive screen, I've got to experience every colour of grey that's available in a men's garment through Peter Grant. It's like, my God, his wardrobe must look like... It's like you could do it like, is this a Goth's wardrobe or is this Peter Grant's wardrobe? I think you'd be very challenged to...
50 Shades of Grant, we'll call it.
50 Shades of Grant.
50 Shades of Grant. There you go. Simple as that. There you go. You have that one for free, Celtic. There you go. 50 Shades of Grant. But yeah, a few people in the chat. NM saying Grant worked his arse off, would run through brick walls for the team. Jim Z, Peter Grant gave his all and hates the dark side. That'll do me. Good shout, Jim Z. That's a good point to end on. That'll do for me. But yeah, so score predictions before we go, Liam. I think Celtic will go up to Tannadice. They'll get the job done. I mean, last week I sat here and said that we're a scrappy, stodgy 1-0. It won't be a great game. I'll say we'll go and win 3-0. 3-0 I'll go for.
3-0. My secret Santa is a Greg Taylor hat-trick.
Greg Taylor to score. Well, I mean, did score last week.
Santa.
5-1 from San Fran Celtic coming in. Spelling Gloves asking if I've done the 1986 yet. No, we've not. It's one that I've thought about doing. I would need to probably get Johnny, maybe even Liam. I feel because you guys lived the 1986 era, I didn't, so it would be good to hear some opinions on that because that's obviously the Love Street game to win the league.
Maybe get one of our guys to come on. One of the guys that might have been around about my age here, come on for the bus.
For the chat. Like that, we might open that up. Yeah, we might do that. Yeah, maybe a shout, by the way. It might be. So we'll keep that in mind. But it's the one I've not done yet, Smell the Glove. But I will. It's definitely one that could be a fun one to do because I could learn a lot from it as well. Because I didn't experience it firsthand. So it'd be an eye opener of a season for me to talk about. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. What else we got? James Kennedy saying 4-0. Jim C says 3-1. Pat O says 2-1 to the hoop. So yeah. There you go. It's all positive. So yeah, we will head off now, folks. The next time me and Liam will probably be on, Christmas will have come and gone. I don't know. I mean, there might be a Tuesday ticket. It will be Christmas Eve after all. Do you really want? I don't know if David will be busy because the last week work got in the way and David couldn't do the Tuesday ticket. So if David's free to do the Tuesday ticket, I might be on Tuesday. But if not, then I probably won't be on again until next Friday, I would guess, when it's the next Friday feeling. So yeah, everyone in that case, enjoy your Christmas if that's the case. Liam, you certainly enjoy your Christmas, mate. When the big day comes, enjoy it. And no, Sunday, Celtic another 3 points, please. And yeah, we shall we'll be head off now, folks. So enjoy the rest of your night, whatever you do. Enjoy your weekend, and yeah, enjoy. Celtic hopefully picking up another 3 points on Sunday. Right, we shall catch you later. See you, folks.